For CED Magazine and news from the show at the Cable Show 2012, I'm Stuart Schley with Mark Trudeau, the CEO of OpenVault. And this is the open invitation, Mark, to tell us what you're doing and kind of what your inspiration for your company was.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate it. So at OpenVault, we saw a huge opportunity in the cable MSO space where usage on their high-speed data networks was exploding.
Right.
And so they had a few needs. One is manage that bandwidth, and two is monetize the bandwidth.
Okay.
So our solutions, which are all cloud-based, which we offer on a software as a service basis, really focus on those two areas: managing the bandwidth during peak congestion times, really understanding usage behavior of subscribers, and then monetizing that usage to the extent possible.
So what was the aha moment for you where you realized, this type of a solution was necessary in the market?
Every day we would see articles out there around network congestion that was occurring, and the predominance of Netflix and these types of over-the-top services.
I remember seeing some of that data, right,
which are becoming more and more popular and really taking up a lot of bandwidth on these operator networks. And what we also saw, particularly with the Tier 2, Tier 3 market, which is a big focus of ours,
right,
is that the solutions required to solve these problems are very expensive and require big license fees and things. So we saw a big opportunity to offer a lighter weight solution that does everything that these guys need, but with a lower barrier to entry. And software as a service being what we think is
kind
the
of a key to making that affordability.
Correct.
What happens if the cable industry, whether it's a Tier 2 or a top MSO, it doesn't matter. What happens if the cable industry doesn't address these issues and just sort of lets the bits flow, if you will, without much management or policy?
Well, I think what you're seeing in the wireless world now is a good indication of what could potentially happen, right? So the wireless guys all spent a lot of money on their 4G networks, but they hadn't really thought about all the capacity constraints that there were going to be, right? So they're now all struggling and scrambling to get usage caps in and get usage-based billing set up and things like that. And even though the cable MSOs don't have quite the capacity concerns as the wireless guys do, they have a heck of a lot more usage occurring, in their households,
right,
in their subscribers' households. So what really will happen if they don't get these tools in place is they will be faced with major network congestion problems. Their revenues are flat, right? So revenues being flat, and cost of maintaining capacity continues to go up. So at some point those lines cross, and that's what we're trying to help avoid.
Explain prioritization, or how do you manage bit flows, and why do you manage those bit flows?
So what we do is we help operators understand specifically at a granular level the usage behavior that goes on throughout their network. So whether that's a channel that's congested, and we need to understand which subscribers are on that channel, and how much are they contributing to congestion at any given time, right? So you may have somebody that is a very, very heavy user over the course of a month, but they might not be the same subscriber that's contributing to congestion during peak times. So what we try to do is help operators really understand that at a granular level, so they can make the right business decisions and implement the right policies at the right times.
I've heard people in the wireless space talk about the peak utilization as being really the key pain point, because that's when, as a customer, right, you can really experience degradation in the performance of your service.
Absolutely, and the peak time is really what all the operators build their network for.
Yeah,
right.
Provision for peak.
So that's why we focus a lot on peak and what specifically is going on during peak time. And by the way, peak time jumps around, right? It's not always the same hour of every single day. So you've got to be observing this and looking at it in real time all the time in order to implement the right policies.
Mike, when you look down the road, kind of further down the road, what else do you see happening, and how might your company kind of play a role in addressing it?
The amazing thing that we've seen, and we're a young company, a couple of years old here, but just in that short period of time, we've seen the growth explode, and that's not just within a given device within a household. Somebody that finds Netflix or some over-the-top service. We're seeing the number of devices within a household grow exponentially. We don't know what the next Netflix or Hulu is going to be that's going to take up a lot of bandwidth, right? All we know is it's growing, and it's growing rapidly. And so the sooner the operators get the tools in place to manage their networks they've spent a lot of money to build, the better off they'll be in the long run.
What other benefits does OpenVault kind of bring to the market, and why do they matter to the cable industry?
So our solutions, we do a few things. We turn data into real actionable information.
From like an analytics kind of
Correct.
approach,
So
right?
we don't just collect data and present it as a fire hose to the operators. We actually analyze it at a very granular level and provide really useful information so that business decisions can be made. And we go a step further than that even, and we automate, right, the solution set. So based on what we see in our analytics, we can automate policy enforcement and do all these types of things so that we avoid any manual effort in those scenarios.
You're talking about the concept of prepay applying to fixed wireline broadband. Talk about that.
Correct. So, for a long time now, operators have struggled with adding subscribers, and there are a lot of homes passed out there where subscribers are, seasonal subscribers or credit challenged or bad debt risks or what have you, and this has really been an untapped market for the cable MSOs, and one of the areas we get a lot of interest in is the prepaid area. So the idea of being able to offer subscribers the ability to buy bandwidth for a limited time or for a limited amount of bandwidth. We're getting a lot of interest there because it allows these operators to capture more customers from the network they've already built, right? And it is an untapped market. It's one that there's a lot of households in America that fall into this kind of category, if you will. And they like to buy in a certain way. You've seen prepay wireless out there for a long time, right? And it's very popular. There's no reason, by leveraging the technology that we bring to bear, that we can't help operators offer their services and offer bandwidth in a prepay environment, which is again, we're getting a lot of interest from operators.
So nobody's really doing it yet, right? Or
nobody's formally announced it yet. We are working with I'll say multiple operators on offering this in a very efficient way,
right?
Because it isn't necessarily something that the operators are set up to do today, right? Their billing systems and everything else are set up for post-pay. But again, with our ability to take data in real time and do balance management, we have the ability now to offer them a whole new set of customers to target and go after.